Hi, today we're going to talk about local notifications in LiveCode mobile apps. I'm Devin Acey of Brigham Young University, and we are giving this mini lesson as part of the Digit 310 course. So notifications are basically a way for your app to send messages to the operating system. There are two types of notifications. There are local notifications, and there are push notifications, and you see all of these all the time. Local notifications come from an app on your device. For example, a local notification might come from your to-do list app informing you that a task you scheduled has come due. On the other hand, push notifications are generated on a server and sent to your device in real time. This might, for example, be a notification from a news feed or of an operating system update becoming available. We're going to focus on local notifications today, which are simpler to implement, and so they're a good place to start. We're all familiar with notifications. They can pop up anytime on our screen when we're using the phone. They can pop up on the home screen, as you see here. They can even pop up when our phone is locked on the lock screen. And when there's a notification that we haven't responded to, we see the familiar badges attached to the app icons that tell us that there is one or more pending notifications in that app for us to check. So this is kind of how it works. If we imagine our phone here, typically we'll get the notification that appears on the screen with a signal. We touch the notification banner to go to the sending app. We respond to the notification, and then we exit the app. I want to talk now about how to generate a local notification in LiveCode. It's pretty simple and straightforward. The main language token that we use is the mobile create local notification command. It's a long command, as you can see, with 6 possible parameters. So here's the basic syntax. Let me just walk through these parameters and tell you what they are. The first is the alert body. The alert body is the text of the notification that pops up on the screen. The next one is the alert button label. And this is a button that appears with the alert itself. That instructs you what to do to respond to the notification. Now, I have noticed in recent versions of iOS they appear not to use this anymore, but Android does still use it. Next thing is the alert payload. The alert payload is actually a text string that can be sent to the user along with the notification. Now, this alert payload string only is used if the app that originated the notification has a local notification received message handler. And then if it does, this text string can be presented to the user or otherwise handled in the originating app. We'll look at that a little bit on the next screen. The next parameter is the alert time parameter, and that's the time at which the notification should be triggered. This time is given in seconds since the beginning of the Unix epoch, January 1st, 1970, 12 midnight. That's a baseline time that is quite commonly used throughout Unix-based and even internet-based applications. Next one is the play sound parameter, and that's either true or false. And as the name of this parameter implies, it's if it's true, a sound and or vibration will play, and if it's false, it will just be a silent notification. And finally, there's the badge value parameter, which is an optional parameter, and it's a number that will appear in the badge on the application icon, as you can see here. This is an iOS only feature. It's not that the Android system does not have badges, but it appears that only in iOS can you control the appearance and the number that appears on the badge. So let's look at a brief example of how you might create a notification in, say, a button handler in LiveCode. It's very straightforward. You just plug the values into the command parameters. So here you see a simple handler that is simply putting values into those parameter slots, and literally all you have to do is issue that mobile create local notification command, and the notification will happen. You notice the last line in the handler says put the result into S notification ID. That's a script local variable that we set up to store an ID number associated with that pending notification. By storing that in a script local variable, you can later use mobile cancel local notification command to abort the notification message if you choose to do so. Alright, let's look at handling the notification once the user goes back to your app. As I mentioned in a couple of screens ago, there is a local notification received message, and that message is sent along with the alert payload string, and it looks something like this. On local notification received, and there is a parameter variable that I've appended to that message, and here we're simply using an answer command to echo back the payload string that was sent with the initial notification. Now you notice also that I've included an example of using the iPhone set notification badge value command. Again, it's an iOS only command, and you can actually use that to reset that back to 0 once the user has responded to the notification. And again, this appears to happen automatically in Android apps, and whereas in iOS they are explicitly controlled by commands. Alright, so I'd like to shift gears now and actually build an example stack. Here you see a screen snap of a stack that we'll look at in LiveCode. It's available for download from the URL that you see on the slide. And we'll flip over to LiveCode to look at that app and actually do a test deploy on a couple of different devices and let you see how it works. All right, we have fired up LiveCode. Now I'm going to open the stack. The stack is called local notifications.livecode. Looks just like that. And I want to talk about what we've got in this stack. I've put tooltips in each of these controls so that you can see what their names are. So there's a button to cancel a pending notification. Here's a button called send, which we use to create the notification. A field called alert body, a field called alert button, and a field called message. So these are the fields that I will draw from to implement that mobile create notification command. And I should also mention the field seconds, which is where we'll get the amount of time before the notification gets sent out. And finally, checkbox button that basically says the sound and vibration is turned off or turned on. Okay, so let's look at some of the scripts in this stack. First of all, I'm going to look at the stack script. The stack script is nothing you really haven't seen before. It's simply setting the full screen mode of the stack to show also that it will scale up to fill the entire screen of the mobile device. And then we're setting the allowed orientations. And since this is a portrait orientation app, we're only allowing the portrait orientations. So next I want to look at the script for the send button. And this is really the most complicated script in the whole stack, and it's even not that difficult to figure out. The first line on the mouse up handler, I'm simply declaring some variables. That is not strictly necessary, but many LiveCode developers prefer to declare all of their variables. I'm setting up the current seconds. I'm putting that into the current time variable. Then the next several lines, I'm simply putting values into variables that I can then pass along as parameters with the mobile create local notification command. So you can see, as we talked about a couple of minutes ago, there's an alert body, which comes from that top field. There's an alert button text, which comes from the next field down. There's an alert message, or what I like to call the payload, which comes from that field there, the message field. And then the notification time is based on the current time plus the number of seconds that have been selected in this this time field. Finally, the parameter that determines whether or not the sound is played with the notification is determined by whether or not that button is highlighted, the sound/vibrate button. And the last one is simply the numeral 1, which, as you recall, is the badge value for the notification badge. And so that'll work for us on iOS. Now the last couple of things here, we are saving the notification ID, which you get by querying the result function after you issue the mobile create notification command. That notification ID is automatically generated, and by querying the result function, you can capture that. And I'm just putting it into field info there and reporting it. Let's peek at a couple of other scripts. Here is the card script, and you'll notice that I have written a local notification received handler. It takes one parameter, which is the payload string, and I'm simply echoing it back to the user when they come back to the application after the notification has been received. And then, as I showed you in the slide, I'm using the iPhone set notification badge value command to set the badge back to 0, or essentially when it's set to 0, the badge disappears. Now let's look at the script for the cancel button. And this uses a command called mobile cancel all local notifications, which I didn't mention in the slideshow, but it's a very straightforward command that basically looks at all of the local notifications that this app has created that are pending, and it just cancels them. So it's an easy way just to clean up after everything. Let me point out one more script here, and that's the seconds field. So we are creating a list of options of time delays that we can choose from in terms of how long we want the to wait before the notification is sent. And then using the mobile pick command, we present that list. And so you'll see that in the deployed app on the devices, you'll see how that works. All right, so we've already set up the standalone application settings for both iOS and Android. Won't go into that in too much depth. We have another lesson about that, but just set up the basic settings that are required here, including, since we're testing on an iOS device, we need to make sure that the provisioning profile is selected. And on Android, it's some very basic things that are required: the label, the identifier, and you want to say do not sign, because we're just using it in a test environment. Now, obviously, in to test on Android, all we've got to do is connect the Android device to our Mac here and choose that as a test target. I did that previously, and we will save as a standalone application, which I did, and you can see right here in the local notifications 1 folder that standalone application has been built. So let's switch over to the Android device and have a look at what that looks like. Here's our Android device screen, and there's the local notifications app that we've created. You notice that the whole interface is there, and basically I can choose to modify these messages or not. You know, I can change the alert button label if I want. I can change the time setting if I want, but I'm going to stick with 5 seconds. And then I just click the send button. Now I'm going to exit the app. So you notice there's our notification. And notice that it disappeared on me, but you notice that it's still there in the list of pending notifications with my button label food. And if I tap, then it takes me back to the app, and here's the payload string that I mentioned. Thank you for reading this notification, etc. And okay, and I'm back in the app. So let's switch over to the iOS device. I've got an iPhone hooked up to this computer, so I will share that. And there it is. And I'll go in, and I already have that app running. And you'll notice it looks, not surprisingly, just like the one on Android. Again, I can choose to edit any of these things that I want, but we'll just take those defaults and click send. I'll keep the 5 seconds. Now I'm going to leave the app, go to the home screen, and there's my notification. Now before I go back into the app, I want to point out that there's my app icon with the badge, the number 1 on the badge. Okay, I'll click on the notification message. There it is. And I get the message payload and click OK, and I'm back in the normal mode of the app. So as you can see, it's not terribly difficult. It's fairly straightforward to set up local notifications. So if you need this feature in your app, you can see that it's fairly simple to set up. So that'll be it for today. Happy app developing, and we'll see you next time.